Well, I haven't made any videos in the last 4 or 5 months, mainly because it just doesn't make much sense to keep showing the same thing over and over and over again. But I've been getting a lot of email with people having trouble with these open segmented bowls. So we're going to make another segmented bowl. Whether or not it's going to be open segmented or closed, I really haven't made up my mind yet. What I'm really going over is to try to get a nice design. I saw a design, something similar to this, on the Segmented Woodturners, a chapter of the AAW. And I was making different, the same design, only rearranging things. This was the first one. Too much open space. The colors are really just so I can tell one wood from another. It doesn't necessarily have to be black and white. I don't have that much ebony. This one, the white sort of loses itself. This is the crosshatch pattern with different colors in the center. This is with cherry and walnut. This would be with all walnut, bloodwood, and maple. And that's the one I decided to go with. So we're going to do this pattern, 48 pieces to a row. Zoom in on that. Should be, there's 19 rows here, but you have a base, and of course you've got a top row, so it'll be 21, 22 pieces, or 22 rows high. The light color will be cherry, the dark color will be walnut, the white will be maple, and the red will be bloodwood. And I made up two cut lists, one for solid rings and one for open segmented. Now, most of you are having trouble with the open segmented, so I'm leaning toward making this an open segmented bowl. And we're going to use my new 18-inch wheel, which I don't believe I've made a video using the 18-inch wheel. So we'll take a look at that next, and I'll try to explain a few things, and we'll get this bowl started. This is what the bowl is going to look like. It's going to be about 12 inches in diameter, about 5.5 inches deep. Although I believe this pattern will look much better in solid rings. Since so many of you is having trouble with the open segment, getting the alignments right, we'll go with the open segmented bowl. Now, you don't have as much trouble with alignment if you use the Seg Easy Plate. Of course, you're limited to 24 pieces, and it has a few things that problems with it, with the pieces moving in that I'm not too happy with. So next we'll take a look at what I've done to my open segmented bowl jig, and we'll start making the base. Now, this was the original one that I made out of with that walnut post. It became sloppy real quick, and it worked quite well, other than when you got up to making larger bowls. Then these lines are just too close together. So then we went with a 12-inch ring, which was better than that 8-inch ring, but I still wasn't that completely happy with it. So I made an 18-inch ring, and it's the same basic jig. Of course, I'm limited here to 18 inches. So we went with 18 inches, and this one works superbly. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to use this one. I will try to explain each part as we go through it, because so many people's having trouble. Well, next I'm going to make the base out of cherry, and we'll get the bowl started. I don't know if this shows up in the video, but I've developed a couple wrinkles in this paper. The paper was glued fast to MDF and then of course covered with clear tape. But it's summertime now and the humidity down here is going up. So I don't know if that's going to cause me a problem as we start this bowl or not. If it does, we will have to stop and correct it. Another thing that I've had a couple of emails on is the fact that with the original wooden one, we had a problem when we took the faceplate off, getting it back on exactly to the same place. And I've had several emails where by using this method with the bolt in the middle, the faceplate stops at the exact same place every time. So that is no longer a problem. So we'll make the base and we'll get started. Now this is my double waist block, screwed fast to a 3.5-inch faceplate. And questions was asked why I use a double. I don't have any wood this thick, and I usually make my bases waist block way bigger than the bowl to give me the most strength while I'm turning the bowl. Then I'll turn this down usually to no less than 3, down to 2, 2.5, 2.25. Somebody else asked how to keep the first piece on in alignment. So what we're going to do is an 1/8-inch drill bit. We're going to start the lathe and we're going to drill a 1/8-inch hole, half, 3/4 of an inch into the waist block, and then we'll drill a corresponding very shallow hole in the base of the bowl, and then we'll have insert a 1/8-inch dowel rod in there, and we'll have no problems with it aligning when we put it in the press and glue it up. So I'll show you that. That's plenty deep enough. Now we'll work on the base. This is the piece we're going to use for the base. As you can see, I located the center. The thickness is a little over 3/4 of an inch. Finished, it's only going to be a 1/2 inch at the most. So what we're going to do is drill a very shallow hole right here so that we can align these two pieces up. I'm only going to go 1/8 of an inch or thereabouts. That should be good enough. Next we'll glue the two pieces together. As you can see, I knocked the corners off. This will be the outside of the actual base. This is actually where the glue block goes. Since we have that little nub there, since we get it in place, now there's no movement. We don't need little blocks out here or anything. So now what I'll do is I will put glue to that inside ring, put the attach the waist block, put it in the clamp, leave it dry. 2 hours or so, I guess. The waist block has been glued to the base of the bowl. And since I'm gonna turn that round before we put the first row on, I will most likely leave that dry till tomorrow. That's a large surface area, and I'll tighten it up every 10-15 minutes to make sure it's good and tight. And next we'll get started on cutting the pieces for the first row. Now for the first row, as you can see from the drawing, the piece has to be 1 5/8 wide, and the outside diameter is going to be 6 1/4. So I will rip the lumber to 1 5/8, and also I made a chart. I'll show you. It says the first row I need 16 pieces of cherry, 24 pieces of maple, and 8 pieces of bloodwood. This is so I keep